And this is EdCast, a program created and produced by educators for everyone interested in education. A recent report issued by Penn State University's Center for Collegiate Mental Health points to a surge in student psychological problems on campus. The move to college is fraught with anxiety for many students, and parents are often clueless about their children's inner struggles. More students than ever are seeking mental health treatment. Others suffer in silence, often with dire results such as profound depression or suicide. Today on EdCast, Dr. Steven Huberman joins me to talk about how parents can identify potentially dangerous psychological situations and the effective and appropriate means of helping young adults. We'll also speak with a mother and daughter going through the college adjustment period, coming up on EdCast. My guest today is Dr. Steven Huberman, founding dean of the Touro College Graduate School of Social Work. Touro is also the recent recipient of a multi-million-dollar grant to prepare economically disadvantaged students to become social workers and assist in their communities. Thank you so much for joining us today on EdCast, Dr. Huberman. There have been a number of recent studies that are pointing to American teens being in psychological trouble. What are some of the problems that we're seeing now?
It used to be, Linda, in the previous generation, a student would go to the college where he or she was admitted, and mom or dad would not have the level of involvement. Today, we have this notion of a helicopter parent, where parents are very active in the lives of their children, tremendous pressure to get that big fat envelope, and even when you get the big fat envelope, that's just the beginning. Then there's all kinds of pressure in today's society from mom and dads and others, and the kids feel that stress.
So what are we seeing? What kind of problems are they manifesting?
Linda, about half of all college students today have some form of depression.
That's a big number.
Just in the first year alone, some form of depression. It could be the inability to get up in the morning. It could be the inability to concentrate. 50% is a big number.
So would you say, so that's a very widespread number, a lot. I was reading that the studies seem to indicate that girls have more anxiety than boys. Is there any particular reason why that would be?
I've been, Linda, on Weight Watchers for 7 years, and in my Weight Watchers group in Midtown Manhattan, there are only 2 guys, and there are about 20 women. Many of them are female college students. And I listened to the conversation. A lot of focus on weight, a lot of focus on appearance, and in my own group there from Weight Watchers, I see the stress that these young women have looking good. And in fact, you go on Facebook, you have to look good. So girls particularly have that, Linda, high degree of pressure on them.
Do you think they also are more prone to want to do well in school? They tend to do better than boys in school overall. Do you think they have more of a drive for?
Yes, particularly in today's society, there's a push for women to get ahead. And as we heard at a recent Democratic convention, with the ceiling being broken for how far women can go, it's expected they'll go far. So they feel the pressure.
Now, why do you think college is a particular precipitator of this kind of stress? Why are we seeing it on the campuses?
Linda, for many young people today, it's the first time being away on their own.
Okay.
Even if you're a commuter, it's the first time having to demonstrate independence, first time having to balance a budget. And if I were to point to one issue that's particularly stressful, it's the financial issue today, and that weighs down on lots of kids, particularly at the time when they know they have to excel.
So
academically.
the student loan, they're taking on that debt of the student loan. Now, we had the opportunity to talk to a mother-daughter team here at Lehman, and the daughter has just recently completed her sophomore year, and to talk about a little bit about what were some of the anxieties about going off to college. So let's take a look. Today I'm speaking with an actual family with a daughter who went off to college, Marissa White and her daughter, Amelia White. Thanks for speaking with us. We really want to talk a little bit about what it's like being in college and what some of the concerns are that you may have had. Marissa, I want to start with you. As a mother, what were your greatest concerns about sending your daughter off to college?
Oh, there were a lot. You know, it's the first child going to school, so, you know.
Is there another one in the wings?
There's another one in the wings,
Okay.
so that'll be a lot easier.
Okay.
And we had friends that had sent kids off to school, but when it's not yours, it's
course.
not the same. So, you know, one of the biggest concerns, making friends, leaving hometown, leaving the friends that she grew up with, not being near family, you know, how would she adjust, managing her time, you know, going to classes, eating schedule. I had one friend whose son lost 14 pounds the first year. So, you know, it was those types of things,
Right.
getting her laundry done and that kind of stuff. So the concerns, were, you know, were more socially driven, I think, for me. You know, would she be able to manage? And I didn't worry so much about the academics because she's an amazing advocate for herself and she works hard and you know, and I knew that she wanted to succeed and you know, she takes school seriously. It was more the social aspect.
Now, what about you? What were your concerns about going off to college, Amelia?
I worried about like academics because Marist is a very competitive school. I worried about like fitting in and getting along with my roommate and becoming like best friends with her because that's what everyone was doing and everybody, you know, was buddy-buddy with their roommates.
And you weren't sure that that might even work out, that you might want to be
Yeah, I
buddy
just
with your
knew-
roommate.
yeah.
How do you know, right?
I worried about like time management and, you know, going to class and, you know, doing well. So, yeah.
So you had some similar concerns, but you were focused a little bit on the academics. So now that you have your first year under your belt,
First
what
years.
were the concerns that were valid and what were some of the new things that may have come up? Did it work out with your roommate?
No, it didn't.
Okay, so that concern, so that was a valid
but
concern.
like
yeah.
thinking back to it, like it's not a really big deal. Like in the beginning, like thinking back, because I was actually talking to, I have a friend, a family friend who's going away this fall for her first year. So she was asking me actually some of the same questions, and I was trying to help her. And I was telling her that you don't have to be best friends with your roommate. As long as you can just get along and say, oh, let's go get lunch, or today I'm gonna go hang out with some other people. As long as you could just, you know, live in peace, that's all that matters. You don't need to be best friends, but I thought that you needed to be best friends with your roommate going in, and that was like the most important thing in college.
That
but
was a
it's not.
pressure that you put on
Yes,
yourself
that was
before
like-
you went, and I can understand that would be big anxiety because one, you don't really know how you're going to get along
Yeah,
with
like
somebody.
I could remember like texting her like before I even started because we like met on Facebook. She had messaged me
Okay.
because when we got like our roommates and like freaking out about what to say and like saying like the right thing and like showing my friends from home like, is this okay? Like, do I look weird? Like.
So what is your response to some of the concerns that this mother-daughter team raised?
This is a great team. I think they have their act together. The students' problems that she enunciated are all real and normal. They are normal. I'm having issues with my roommate. I'm concerned about academics. And the mom's issue are also normal. Maintenance task. Will she fit in? How will she handle the academics? So they've done the first part, Linda, which is acknowledge the problems, acknowledge the challenges. That's the first part of healthy communication with the college student and mom or dad. Acknowledge. It's not going to be perfect, but life's imperfect.
In light of the fact that Amelia mentioned the roommate issue and that in the end she did not have such a positive experience, do you think dormitory living is the only way to go? I know that often when kids finish the freshman year, they don't even want to be in the dorm anymore. They want to move off campus. What do you think about that whole dormitory roommate thing? Should kids live at home if they can? If they go to a commuter school, like the CUNY schools, you can actually live at home?
Yes.
They don't want to? What do you
Yes.
think?
Linda, the notion always was college means going away. No longer is the case. Again, as I said at the outset, you have this financial economic issue today, and the latest data indicate 50% of all college students stay home and they commute to school. Be it New York City, be it Boston, be it Los Angeles, it doesn't matter. And there are a unique set of challenges with being a commuter student, like You have to still make friends. You have to still fit in academically, but you have something going for you, Linda. Usually, mom or dad will make your dinner, and mom or dad will do your laundry, and mom or dad will help out. Those are great things that you don't get in a dorm.
But mom or dad will still want to know where you're going, when you're
Yes.
coming back, who you're going with, and I think that's what a lot of young
Yes.
adults don't want anymore.
Yes, so I have a challenge as a parent. Namely, I have to give my college-age student what I say is the space for failure. In other words, if you try to fix all the problems and you make it too easy, your college-age student will not grow, will not become autonomous, will not be ready to deal with life's up and down. So if you're going to live at home, you got to create the right contract between mom and dad and the college student.
Now, if your child is going off to school, are there certain things that you think should be done in anticipation for that transition?
Yes, I want to speak about one issue in particular, namely this concept of drinking.
Okay,
and
that's a big
binge
concern
drinking.
parents have.
It's a big issue.
Right.
In fact, the Atlantic magazine this month had a lead article on binge drinking among college students. It's time to prepare when your student is still in high school, that you are setting certain boundaries, that excessive drinking is not appropriate, that breaking the law is not appropriate, and setting certain boundaries so that when the student starts college, he or she may wake up drunk one morning, but say, my mom and my dad are going to be really disappointed in me. You should be setting that framework while the student is still in high school to mitigate the likelihood of binge drinking. By the way, binge drinking used to be 4 or 5 drinks. Now
What's
it's
it now?
10 drinks.
Really?
10 drinks, and it's no longer having red wine. You're binging on vodka.
I think that's
And
a
it's-
lifetime accumulation.
It's a lifetime accumulation,
drinks.
and we want to avoid that, Linda, wherever possible.
Now, I think the big concern, of course, that parents have is not knowing what's going on when their kids are away at school. How can you tell? How can you know? Some of the things we're seeing now is kids can be very depressed and parents don't even know. What can you suggest that parents can have a handle on what's going on when the kids are away?
There are some warning signs
Okay, like
for
what?
you as a parent. There are, I call them the polls. If your child is calling every night, problem. If your child never calls, problem. Polls apart. If your child wants to come home every weekend from school, problem. If she never wants to come home, problem. You're looking for the happy medium. If you can talk to your child about once a week, and if your child comes home at least during the holidays, that's great. But otherwise, that's a sign of a problem.
And if they come home and they never get out of bed, or they're in their pajamas all the time, problem, not problem, normal?
Let them sleep.
Let them sleep. They don't know. Okay. Now,
My great hope when I retire, which will be in a
Is to
long
sleep.
time, is to get 7 hours of sleep, and then I will say, thank the Almighty.
I wish that for you. Now, if you are a student, we can always fool ourselves as adults, that everything's okay, we're not doing so badly. What's the sign for a student to know that maybe I need help?
I am a dean of a graduate school, at Touro College, School of Social Work in New York City, and I keep an eye on my students. And I know that there are certain signs. For example, if a student consistently is getting C's and D's, problem. If I'm a student, I'm consistently asking for incompletes because I can't finish my work, problem. If I'm a student and I can't get out of bed in the morning, problem. At that point, there are free resources at every college campus. Go after those free resources. Otherwise, it will just get worse and worse, and there's a link between depression, binge drinking, which can lead to drug addiction. You want to stop that cycle early.
Those are very good things to watch out for. Let's go back to Marissa and Amelia again, because they talk a little bit about coping with some of the problems that happen in college. We're beginning to find out that for some students, college really is extremely stressful. And there's a lot of anxiety, and some kids find themselves really not coping well, and their parents, don't always know, exactly what's going on with their kids. What do you think, from your perspective, Amelia, if you, for yourself or anyone who you know, what do you think would be the parent role if a student, a college-age person, is really having some trouble away from home?
I guess like being tough on them and telling them to like get up every day and like go to class, knowing what they're like. Are you going to class? Like, are you hanging out with friends? Like, how are you doing academically?
So
like,
you're
knowing
saying
like
there's
the
certain
basics.
questions to ask.
They
to
should
kind
know.
of pull
yeah,
out.
Right, because like why are you having a hard time? Like what is the hardest thing that you're dealing with? Like what is making it so hard for you to cope with?
That's great. That's
So
great advice.
and I'm actually an RA, so I have a lot of
okay.
residents that come to me with this problem. Like I'm struggling a lot. Like I have a roommate problem, or I miss my parents. I'm homesick, and I just did a 4-week program. It was a summer program for actually high school
great,
students,
yeah.
and I had a girl who was very homesick, and her mom was very, very tough on her, and she was like she's never been away from home. That was her first time. And her mom, would ask, like, are you feeling okay? Do you feel sick? Like, how's class? Did you go to class today? How are, like, the girls in your room? Like,
But when you say tough on her, does that mean she
wasn't like, okay, I'll come get you.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or
So
I'll
she-
come up there
okay.
and meet you. She was like, no, you need to get up. You need to go to class. You need to surround yourself with people. And you need to, if you have a problem with your teacher or your,
She was supportive.
She was
Yeah.
supportive, but, like, tough. And then I had another parent who came and picked her kid up because her kid was struggling.
Is there ever a time when you could conceive of having your mother or your father intervene on your behalf in an academic matter? Or would you just really want them staying out of that completely?
Staying out of it completely. Well, actually, I take that back. If there ever, which should never happen, like ever happens where like a professor is, discriminates against a student or is not supportive or doesn't give students accommodations that they need, because we do have special services at Marist where students do get accommodations for testing and like things like that. So of course, if they do something like that, that's...
You've made some really good distinctions, and if I'm paraphrasing, tell me if I've heard it right. You're basically saying that the academic issues are the student's responsibility. And if your parent intervenes, that's not really appropriate and it's really on you as a student. However, if there are some legal matters or ways
Exactly.
in which you feel that the college is ignoring
Exactly.
what your rights are and that it's hard to advocate for yourself sometimes,
Right.
that an adult, or you are an adult, but your parent may be calling up, would be a stronger advocate. Now, could you ever see a situation in which you might pick up the phone?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I did it for her when she was in grade school, and middle school, and high school
Right.
a little bit, but not on the college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not on a college level. The first year, she was coming home a lot on the weekends, and a lot of the things that she was saying, those were the questions I was asking. What are the struggles up there? What's the problem? But no, I would not. I mean,
not.
when she calls me up and says I have an issue with X, Y, and Z, my first response is, you need to figure it out. Contact the professor, talk to them. I told her right from the beginning, your professor's your ally if you meet that person halfway. So no, because I don't believe that by intervening for her or advocating for her, I'm not encouraging her or empowering her to advocate for herself.
Wonderful advice. You both have given amazing advice and amazing experiences, so thank you so much. What a
thank
wonderful
you.
mother-daughter team. Marissa and Amelia White, thank
Once
you
in a
so
while,
much
right?
for speaking
Yeah.
with us. And now back to our guest in the studio. There are some kids who just don't have the luxury of worrying about anybody intervening on their behalf. Yet there are plenty of children, my own included, who could have a parent who could intervene. What's your take on that? Should we ever intervene?
The research is very interesting. Today, most college-age students want to hear from mom and dad. Today, most college students welcome the advice. That's different than a generation ago where it was more boundaries. Today, college students welcome the advice. My one disagreement with this wonderful team is don't be overly interventionist. Give the kid as much space as possible and just show love. But maybe it ought to be tough love.
All right, and she mentions this concept, she calls it, some parents, or the parent was tough on the kid, and I guess what she means by that is not taking the student home. What's your take? I mean, if your child says, I really hate it here, I want to come home, I know that happens. What's a reasonable amount of time to try to tough it out? When should you say, look, it's not working?
2 semesters.
The first year.
That's the rule of thumb.
Okay.
That the great majority of college students take the entire freshman year to get adjusted. Give it time, give it 2 semesters. If after 2 semesters it does not seem a good fit, tons of students today transfer. And that's always an option, but tough it out for 2 semesters.
Do you think that teens today have more stress in their lives than we did, or than that their parents had?
Yes, I
And
think
why do you
there
think-
is more stress, but it's a different type of stress than in the past. The stress today relates, and you said it at the outset, Linda, making it, if you're a woman, particularly making it, a lot of push to go into the STEM areas, which for many sciences, technology are difficult. So we have the societal pressure to make it. In the previous generation, many people were very happy to go in the more humanistic professions. Today, with a great emphasis on finances, there is a high emphasis on economic advancement. And again, that's a tough stressor.
Do you think that, well, I know the liberal arts are taking a big hit, always something that concerns me. Do you think that social media plays a role in adding to the stress of the lives of young people today?
Yes, because I go on Facebook once a day because I like to see what my friends are up to.
Are they having a better life than you? Because that would be a...
Yes, they all seem to be having a great life. And part of the issue, and I tell this to my own students, is everyone is who they are. Don't try to be your friend on Facebook, because what we know is young people on Facebook generally don't say, I was up all night crying, Mommy. They try to look great. And everything is great on Facebook, but guess what? Everyone does not have all greatness all the time. So that social media, Linda, does put pressure.
I read an article in New York Magazine recently saying that it was really hard for young people today to look at everybody's curated life and worrying that they're not keeping up in some way. So when it comes to the intervene, I want to mention to you a circumstance. Let's just say that your child is going off to college. This was in my family situation under very stressful circumstances. There's been things happening at home that are adding to would be the normal anxiety of going away. What could a family do in those circumstances to ease that transition?
I say to notify the administration before you begin. If it's a very serious situation, the student may sign what's called a FERPA release, where they have given me the ability to talk to the parent. But they must sign that release, because if they don't sign it, I can't talk to them. So if it's a very problematic, like a psychiatric or a medical issue, I recommend signing the release in advance, or surely notifying the university that there could be a problem.
Now, what's your take on the gap year? A lot of people feel it's really beneficial for students not to go right off to college, to take that year off after graduating high school. Is there an advantage to that, or?
Well, the president's daughter is doing it, and I assume she is a good role model to emulate. It's not necessary. If you're going to take a year off, it would be wonderful to do a year of public service to give back to America, but it's by no means necessary unless it's structured in the right way.
You had mentioned much earlier on, we were talking about kids being ready from an earlier age to make this transition into college, and some of the preparation starts much earlier. And some of the people who are writing about these issues that college students face are talking about kids needing to build their emotional IQ. Do you think that as parents or that as families, we're not, as a society, we're not focusing enough on building our kids' emotional IQ, maybe call it grit, call it resilience, call it whatever? Do you think we need to work on that?
Yes, this whole notion, Linda, of fixing everything for your son and daughter is not terrific. They need to make mistakes. They need to know that life is full of problems, and it is abnormal not to have problems. So let them solve it on their own. And in the long term, they'll be a healthier young person and ultimately a healthier adult.
We're running out of time. I want to ask you again your final guidelines for how parents can best support college students.
Be sure on a regular basis you send them quarters so they'll have money to pay for the laundry.
For the laundry, don't they have cards now? I'm sure that they noticed you didn't have to say to make a telephone call. Dr. Steven Huberman from Truro College, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This is a timely interview for us because so many people are going off to college right now. So thank you for joining us today on EdCast.
My pleasure, Linda.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with our EdBytes. Welcome back to this edition of EdBytes. What's really keeping women out of the STEM fields? Education Week identifies two major culprits: college calculus and confidence. A recent study found that women are more likely than men to drop out of the STEM pipeline after Calculus 1. When asked why they left STEM courses after Calculus 1, women said they lacked the ability to move on to Calculus 2. But according to grade analyses, women and men perform similarly in Calculus 1. More men just decided to keep on going. Educators have known for a while that girls outperform boys in school. The Washington Post reports on a study at UC Davis that indicates that just starting school in the afternoon could close the gender gap. While girls adapt better to the school environment and seem more resilient to negative life circumstances, the early school start time might be a major culprit in why boys don't perform as well. In the months when their classes were held in the afternoon, boys got better grades on their assignments and tests. While this didn't totally erase the gender gap, it did narrow the difference in grades between boys and girls. American teachers don't fare well against their international peers when they are measured on math and literacy skills. Analyzing data from the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, a group of international researchers found that in terms of literacy skills, American educators outscored teachers in 13 of the 23 developed countries. The results from numeracy skills measures were more discouraging. American teachers score below the averages for both other college-educated Americans and teachers internationally. America surpassed only 4 countries in mathematical problem solving. At the same time, the researchers found American teachers are underpaid relative to other U.S. college graduates. Since teacher cognitive skills seem linked to student performance, the researchers conclude that boosting salaries would be one way to attract higher skilled individuals into teaching. Only 10% of the city's teaching force is composed of Black, Asian, and Latino men, and the city wants to increase their numbers in our schools. Drawing on research that indicates that students do better if their teachers reflect their own racial backgrounds, Mayor de Blasio has allocated $16 million for the New York City Men Teach initiative. This initiative hopes to add 300 additional underrepresented men to the teaching corps through programs like Teach for America, the New York City Teaching Fellows, and the City University of New York Teacher Development Programs. That's it for this edition of EdCast. Till next time, class dismissed.